just trying to review Anne Frank's diary, not the full story, but the first act, which was supposed to be read by you last week. So I hope that by now you are reading the second act. This is just a little introduction to some historical context and the most important we can find in the first act of the drama. Remember, this unit has to do with drama, and our selection has been Anne Frank's diary, which is based on a true story. So that's why we can start with the cover page of this book, of this diary, written obviously by her. Let's first meet all the characters. Number one, obviously, is Anne Frank, the girl who wrote all the memories we were reading. Maybe we're not reading the original version, but we're reading something that is like an adaptation to a play, to be performed in a play on stage. So first of all, we have Anne Frank. Then we have Otto Frank, her father. He was the only person who survived, and he's the one who introduced their life in Amsterdam, especially those years in the attic. And he's the one who published Anne Frank's diary as a book. His name, Otto Frank. His wife was Edith Frank. As you could have noticed on the first act, maybe Anne wasn't that lovely with her mother, but she loved her. Remember, Anne Frank was a 13 years old girl, and she was a little rebel about her mother, and she had more affection with her father. But anyway, Edith Frank is very important in this story.
Last name Von Pills, but anyway, for some reason, Anne changed their last names. Here we have Peter Van Damme, the only boy who lives with his parents, obviously, and he was, I think, a year older than Anne Frank. His father, Herman Van Damme, who is Peter's father, and his mother, who was August Van Damme. Then we have Miep. Miep is the woman who is with Otto Frank at the beginning of the play. She's the one who hid these families in the attic above her offices. Her husband was Mr. Crawler, and he's the one who provided the Franks and the Van Dams with supplies. A person who came to the house just like a few pages when you start the story is Mr. Dazzle, who is a dentist, and he is there at the beginning just for a few days, but actually he's dead all the time with the families. And finally, we have Mushi. Mushi is Peter's cat, and he takes part of this story also. About the historical context, we have to know that it was during the World War II. Anne Frank and family, they were Jews, and we know that the Nazis, they had this persecution against them. They were forced to wear this band on their left arm with the David Star, which it makes them be Jews in public. At the beginning of the play, Otto Frank is like remembering all the things that happened just much before, much after everything happened. Is like a background, and he finds Anne Frank's diary, and he starts to read it all with tears in his eyes. Then we know that Anne Frank's voice is telling the story.
Remember that Hitler, he started this movement with the Nazi party. You can see the swastika here, which is the main symbol for them. So that's why from Frankfurt, Germany, the Frank family were forced to move to Netherlands, especially in Amsterdam. Just in case, in Germany, the Jews were taken to concentration camps, and they were forced to live behind these fences and with these clothes, and they were forced to do many things, and they were also killed just for being Jews. About Anne Frank's place, remember, it was an attic. There were two families living there for 2 years in these conditions. They were not allowed to go out, but even to talk in the day, they had to take turns to go to the bathroom, for example, which is called WC, and they had to be quiet during the whole day because downstairs there was an office, there were people working. Remember, the building belonged to Miep and Mr. Platter. As I told you, the families, just like the Van Dans, who were from Netherlands, and the Franks from Germany, they were forced to leave their places and change their lifestyle. It was very hard. This is just a little design or a plan about the house, especially in the attic. You can see how it was divided. A very small place for many people. Nowadays, this is the house where they lived. It's now a museum dedicated to Anne Frank. In some part of the story, you will read about this lake in front of the building. In some moment, Anne Frank is remembering the celebrations they had for the Hanukkah, which is a Jewish celebration, which takes place in December, and they exchange gifts and many things, and some of them remember that Mr. Dussel, he doesn't have these traditions. They have St. Nicholas Day, and they exchange these experiences here. So that's when she begins to miss her friends, and you know that with Peter she didn't have a very good relationship because he was a boy, they were the same age, but actually their relationship changes with the pass of time, and Peter is very ashamed by his father because he's angry when Mr. Dussel comes home. So Anne Frank is there, is trying to have a conversation or a very good relationship with Peter, but he is a little shy and he doesn't want to know about her. Okay, this is just the most important we have to know about the context and about the first part of the act for Anne Frank. For this week, please read Act 2. So next week, I'm going to ask many questions about it. So I hope you can be ready